Hello everybody. Welcome to the panel discussion, how to maximize opportunity in the Indonesian game industry landscape. This is a panel part of Gamescom Asia, Indonesia Games Market Bootcamp. Here, my name is Cipto from Asosiasi Game Indonesia, the association that represents the Indonesian game industry. And I have with me here 4 outstanding names in the local game industry. I would like to let them introduce themselves. I think I'll start with Kris. Go ahead, Kris.
Okay, thank you, Cipto. Hi, my name is Antoni. I'm the founder and CEO of Toge Productions. It's an independent game development and publishing company based in just outside Jakarta in Tangerang. And we have been in the games industry for, I think, more than 11 years now. And we've published our own IP, and we've also helped other Indonesian developers publish their games to the global market, especially for Steam, PC, PC market, and console like PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox. Such titles that we've released, such as Coffee Talk, Infectinator, and When the Past Was Around, and soon we'll release several other Indonesian games, hopefully like early next year. And yeah.
All right, awesome, Kris. Thank you so much. And then next, I'll let Weva introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eva. I'm the founder and CEO of PT Megaxus Infotech. And we have been in this industry for nearly 14 years. Until now, we have about 22 million users, and we have published more than 12 games from companies that located in Asia and America as well, such as big names such as Nexon, Bandai, Valve. So we have, currently we are doing publishing and development and also game business outsourcing services. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Weva. And then next, I will let Pak Neil, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Cipto. Hi, everyone. My name is Neil Himam. I am the Deputy Chairman for Digital Economy and Creative Products of the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia. I'll be talking about the Indonesian game landscape and anything what the government support for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Neil. And then last but not least, Joe, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joe. I lead corporate development, investor relations, and strategic partnerships for MPL, as well as our Indonesia business and Southeast Asia business. We are a mobile esports platform that allows people to play games of skill against each other and earn money from playing games. We launched the business in September 2018. And since then, we've grown incredibly rapidly. We have about 60 million users across both markets, India and Indonesia, about 15 to 20 million monthly active users, over 70 different games on our platform. So we've been scaling very, very quickly, and really excited to work with local game and developers in Indonesia. We've brought on several onto our platform and excited to keep continuing to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. With these 4 awesome people on the stage, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to gain a lot of insights to what's going on in Indonesia and how you can take part in the growing market and development landscape in Indonesia. So I guess I'll start with the first question that I think will best open this panel is, what is it that makes Indonesia's game industry landscape unique compared to other countries? I mean, Indonesia is big, we know, but there will be differences in each industry, and games being something unique on its own will definitely have something different than other countries. So for this, I think I'll start with Kris. What do you think, Kris, about Indonesia's landscape?
I think looking from like a cultural standpoint, I think Indonesia has a mix of like East and West influences. Like a lot of, like I grew up watching, like anime, like Doraemon, like Saint Seiya and stuff like that, Dragon Ball. So we are very, I would say, like we have a lot of Japanese, influences, but we also experience a lot of Western, like media cultures, movies. So we basically we welcome, you know, like both sides, and we kind of enjoyed a mix of, you know, like both cultures. And so like we basically, Indonesian gamers, we consume, you know, Japanese and also Western games without any preferences, like you know, in some other countries. And in our, even like on top of that, like our own local culture is very, you know, we have a wealth of cultures, traditions, and history that's barely explored, and or even like I don't think like the rest of the world know like all of Indonesia's, you know, rich history and culture. And so as a game developer, you know, we could use that to create new interesting games or IP that basically that's very novel, and that could, you know, bring something new into the game industry, you know, the international game industry. And I think that's like one of the reasons why in recent years a lot of Indonesian game developers and games are like rising into the international market, like on Steam. You know, we start seeing a lot of Indonesian game developers bringing stories from Indonesia, or some, you know, a new unique perspective that's uniquely from Indonesia. And also like from a because like we started as a game developer, a Flash game developer back in 2009, and you know, back then Indonesia doesn't have, you know, like big AAA studios or companies, and it's a lot of the game development scene started as a grassroots movement. So a lot of people basically they started because game, or you know, making games is a hobby, or it's a, you know, something, a passion project that they want to do. They have a dream of making their own game. So the community in Indonesia, I would say, is very active, lively, and it's growing, and they are very supportive. And they have been, you know, they have been growing in kind of like independently without any support from external factors. And I think that's something that's rarely seen in other countries. You know, to really see like a country that's basically without any you know, gaming industry before could grow and sustain, and then, you know, like have to basically kind of like scale up, and have a lot of new studios, you know, like growing and popping up here and there, and they're making you know, like new cool games, experimental projects, or like something that's you know, very different than what's available in the market. So I think it's a very very interesting part, you know, from Indonesia.
Awesome answer, Kris. I think Kris has a lot of experience mostly in PC and console space, and I think it's a totally different thing about with MPL's experience, which is from the name definitely focuses on mobile. And what's your experience about? What's your point of view about Indonesia's game industry landscape? Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, look, I think it's a massive market, and it has massive potential simply by virtue of, you know, the huge number, the massive population, right? So there's a bigger population than the rest of Southeast Asia combined, almost, I think, right? So I think if you take Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, they're at or about the same level as us. And you know, the population is steadily growing, right? I think Indonesia, relative to the rest of the world, has done a fairly good job. I mean, I wouldn't say it has lived up to its economic potential, but at the same time, it hasn't been going backwards either. So it has been growing steadily. And so you have, just in terms of pools of value, you have, you know, the biggest pool of value in Southeast Asia. I think there are other really important trends to consider. For me, I think about the total addressable market and the trends that are driving that. And I think there are a lot of really powerful trends that make mobile exciting. The first one is you're seeing you know, cheaper and cheaper smartphones come to the market that are very, very high spec. So, you know, if you think about even an Apple iPhone 7, right, which is like a fairly recent phone, you know, you can get a phone now for $200 or $150. That's you know, better spec than the iPhone 7 was. And that happens every year, right? Every year the specs get better and the prices keep dropping. And so what that enables is it enables a massive portion of the population. So if you look at Indonesia, you know, you would classify most of the folks, frankly, as like lower middle class or frankly poor, right? But you're seeing these poor people being able to afford smartphones, right? Because they're becoming more and more affordable. And then on the other hand, you're also seeing, you know, the government and also a lot of private players be more active in enabling this population to monetize online, right? And I think that's going to do two things. First, it's going to improve their income, right? So it's going to help them, move up social classes. But more importantly, anybody who plays on the mobile space is going to benefit disproportionately, right? So for me, when I think about the opportunity, that's what gets me very, very excited, is this combination of high quality hardware that's cheaper and cheaper, and then enabling people to transact. And that's where I think you'll see Indonesian game developers really start to shine. Because if I'm being very honest, I think, we don't have the quality in Indonesia that we see in other markets, frankly. And I think a lot of that is because it's a very, very tough market to monetize, right? And ultimately for a game developer, money is like your blood, right? You need to invest in a great team. You need to invest in your sales and marketing. You need to invest in your product. And it's hard to do that if the base is really tough to monetize, which it has been for so long. And yeah, so I think, once that changes, and I think it's changing now, right? Then you're going to see, I think, local game developers really perform. I mean, at MPL, we're very bullish on local game devs, right? So we only want to work with local game devs, frankly, right? Because we see ourselves as a way to enable them to a new path to monetization for them, right? But I think it's still early. I think there's a lot of upside here.
Yeah. But we're currently kind of in an inflection point towards that.
Exactly. I don't think we're there yet, and I think, if you think about where most of the money goes, right? I mean, it's not that there are folks who are not willing to pay. There are people who are willing to pay. I mean, you talk to the guys at Muntan, they're making tons of money in Indonesia. You talk to Garena, they're making tons of money in Indonesia, right? You talk to even a PUBG, they're making tons of money in Indonesia. And then you talk to a game developer who's local and they're saying, hey, I'm struggling to make any money, right? And that unfortunately is a sad reality, is that most of the dollars are going abroad. I think it's because these are game developers that have been able to flourish in their home markets, where there is enough monetization for them to kind of learn and scale up and get big and become international, get that international quality. So they've been able to come here and do really, really well. But, I think, frankly, we should have, I would want to see more of those dollars or that rupiah, frankly, going to local game developers.
Yeah. We'll talk more about working together with local game developers and companies in our next question. But for now, I'll move on to Pak Neil. Sure. We already have Kris in the eyes of PC and console space, and Joe from the mobile space. What do you think is unique in the Indonesian landscape in the government's eyes, Pak Neil?
What Joe has said before, and also Kris, we are rich in our culture, tradition, even history, and barely we scratch all those things. So that's one of the unique value proposition in our game landscape, Indonesian game landscape. And the other one is, I think we believe that the government really supporting the subsector, as you know, in Badan Ekonomi Kreatif, and now it's the Agency for Indonesian Tourism and Creative Economy has 17 subsectors, and one specifically sector that we take care of is we are taking care of is the game industry as well. So I believe that's one of the unique thing that we offer to the landscape as well. And don't forget, like, we also try to develop or support strengthen the ecosystem of the game industry as well. So that's one other thing that I think is important here.
Yeah, thank you, Anil. Okay, and then I guess it's just the first question is already so interesting with a lot of different answers from here and there. Touching on from what Joe has mentioned before about working with local developers, for the next question, I would like to ask, in this era of open digital market, why should a developer or a publisher or a product owner from outside of Indonesia partner with a local company to reach Indonesian players? I think for this question, I will start with Bu Eva. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Cipto.
Yeah.
So yeah, based on our experience at Megaxus, I mean, we have received several proposals from developers throughout the Asia or Europe and even America as well. That the reason they contacted us because they want to understand more about the local market. They have no understanding previously about the user behaviors, language, cultures. So in a way, they're looking for a local company like us to reduce their costs for the market entry and also the share risk together with them. So in here that we've been in this industry for 14 years, and we're quite fortunate. We have worked with many developers that when they first come to Indonesia with their products, we must help them understanding the whole product itself. We have a team of game master and game quality analysis that will help them test their game, whether the game fit to the local market in terms of, for example, in the game maps. We will assess the game contents, whether the contents will be suitable for local market or not. For example, one particular games that is coming from Korea, they designed one particular avatar. They're using very revealing type of clothing. And we see that the game is trying to market it toward a teenager. And this is where we as a local publisher, we will tell our partners that such a content, it will be inappropriate for Indonesia. And then we will then evaluate together and then come to, we will evaluate together with the developer and also give us suggestions and suggest some changes as well in the game contents. That goes with the language as well and many things inside the game. So we will try to work together with the developer in the content part, marketing as well as infrastructure, because some of the developer that we work with, they have different type of business model. Some of them, they want to handle their own infrastructure, meaning that Indonesian user will access to their global server. And there's another developer that want a specific server located in Indonesia. So that different type of business model, we definitely can be flexible and accommodate all the costs and the risks. So I think this play part where we sign up with all partnership. We always focus on focusing on the goal, working on long-term partnership. I think is very, very important. So yeah, I think besides helping their localization, customer support, marketing, infrastructure, we definitely will look forward for other potential business opportunity as well. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. There's actually quite a lot of things that can only happen if you work together with a local company in terms of publishing. But I think it's a different thing about MPL, right? Because you guys are working with local developers instead. You mentioned that you only want to work with local developers as you target the local market. Can you elaborate more on that, Joe?
Yeah. So that specifically, look, we see an arbitrage there, right? We feel like local game developers are undervalued, and we want to go where we can add the most value, right? It's a much easier conversation for me to have with the local game dev, where they see the value that we can bring them in distribution and in monetization. And so we're able to have a much more effective win-win partnership and move quickly. You know, for anybody who's in a corporate development or business development role will know, especially in a place like Indonesia. I mean, I was born and raised in Jakarta, right? So I've been here my entire life. I've started 3 companies in Indonesia. My family started, 3 other companies when I was still growing up. So we've done business here my entire life. I know this place like the back of my hand for business. And sometimes things can take very, 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 very long, right, to make happen. So it's very important that both parties are interested and want to work together. And frankly, I think we just add a lot of value for local game devs because we give them a new way to monetize and we give them a new way to distribute, where they don't have to compete with, they don't have to compete with guys like, big name titles, right? Fortnites and et cetera of the world.
All right. That's a really good point, Joe. And I think if seen from the government side, what do you think, why do you think companies who would like to target the Indonesian market, or why should they partner with Indonesian players to get here, Pak Neil?
Yeah, first of all, I think they need to understand like Ibu Eva said, that they understand the socio-cultural mindset of the players itself. That's one. And the second thing is localization is probably one of the biggest challenge as well. For now, for example, Indonesia is going into hyper-local, right? A lot of movies now made in local languages, and I think in the sense, games will have the same thing as well. So we have currently around 700 languages in Indonesia. That's one other thing. And the culture itself, especially the culture of the gaming culture itself. For example, like right now, esport is as well as in other countries probably is really big, huge. but the culture is different, probably different with other esport fans out there. So those types of differences are needed, probably will be best conveyed, or will be best assisted by local companies. I think that's one of the key point. Thank you.
All right. That's been really interesting. Just 2 questions, but there's already so much insight we get from this part 1. We'll continue with a live Q&A session after this, and then after that we'll move on to part 2. So I think we'll open the Q&A session now.